The Arizona Territory, 1873. The desert still slept under a veil of silver dawn when Elias Monroe rose from his cot. His ranch sat hard against the Rio Sonora, a lonely stretch of land caught between U.S. soldiers, Mexican traders, and Navajo refugees who drifted through like ghosts. The air carried the bite of dust and mesquite smoke, and Elias knew by the silence that something was wrong. His hounds had not barked all night. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends, and make sure you're subscribed for more incredible stories like this one. Elias pulled on his boots, the leather cracked from years of wear, and stepped onto the porch with his rifle slung easily in his hands. He scanned the horizon. Nothing stirred, no cattle lowing, no wind through the cottonwoods. Only stillness. Then he saw it. A faint glow flickering from the barn. Not fire, but lamplight. He should have run back inside, barred the door and waited. But Elias Monroe was not a man who hid on his own land. Quiet as a ghost, he crossed the dirt yard and slid the barn door open. The smell hit first. Sweat, smoke, and blood. Then his eyes adjusted. Two figures crouched among the hay bales. Women. No giants of women. Their shoulders nearly brushed the rafters when they rose. Navajo sisters, painted in war markings, each taller than Elias by half a head. Their black hair hung wild, their eyes sharp as obsidian blades. One held a bow, the other a leather satchel pressed tight against her chest. Elias froze. His rifle was steady, but his heart thundered. The taller one spoke first, her English rough but clear. "Don't fire. We mean no harm." Elias's jaw tightened. "Then why are you in my barn?" The second sister stepped forward. Even in the half-light, Elias saw she was trembling. Not with fear, but with exhaustion. Her voice cracked. "Because 70 painted braves are in those trees yonder. And they came for us." Elias's eyes darted to the tree line beyond his corral. And there they were. Shadows upon shadows, faint movements among the mesquite. 70 men with war paint streaked red and white, crouching low, watching his every move. The sisters were not lying. The taller one straightened her spine, her presence filling the barn. "I am Marisol Tenorio. This is my sister Yarezi. We are daughters of a chief. We carry proof of treachery against both my people and yours." Her hand brushed the satchel. Elias glimpsed papers, stamped with seals he knew too well. Before he could answer, a voice thundered across the yard, rolling like distant thunder. "Monroe!" The war leader himself emerged from the shadows. Chief Coanna Redhawk, broad as a canyon wall, painted from forehead to chin. His warriors fanned out behind him, bows drawn but not loose. His gaze was fire fixed on the barn. "You shelter runaways that belong to me," he roared. "Hand them over, or I burn this land to ash." Elias's rifle stayed steady, though his knees felt like water. "They came here on their own," he called back. "And I don't take kindly to men threatening me on my land." A ripple went through the warriors. Red Hawk lifted his spear high, the tip glinting in dawn's first light. For a heartbeat, Elias thought death had already come. But then, Marisol's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Coanna Red Hawk, you chase us to hide your shame, but what we carry will reveal who truly betrayed your people." She raised the satchel. Paper spilled, fluttering like white birds across the dirt. Even from a distance, Elias saw the seals, the governor's mark, the signatures of land barons, promises written in ink and blood. Red Hawk faltered. His grip on the spear trembled. The truth was there for all to see, and his braves shifted uneasily. Elias lowered his rifle just an inch, his voice calm but cold. "You kill them here, chief, and the truth dies with them. Maybe that's what some men want. Or maybe you want the lies burned away as much as the rest of us." The dawn stretched long and silent. Every second was a blade's edge. Elias knew one wrong twitch could see his barn, his land, his life swallowed in fire. And that was how it began. One rancher, 2 hunted sisters, and 70 painted braves circling like wolves. This was no ordinary standoff. It was the spark of something greater, war, truth, or both. And before long, the Rio Sonora would run red with more than sunrise. If you're hooked already, don't forget to like this story, share it with a friend, and subscribe. The sun had barely cleared the mountains when Elias Monroe found himself pacing the dirt floor of his barn, his rifle propped in the corner, his nerves coiled tight. Marisol and Yarezi Tenorio sat across from him, the great Navajo sisters who had stumbled into his life only hours before. Between them lay the satchel, now spilling its contents like a wounded beast, parchments, letters, maps. Elias stooped and picked up the nearest paper. His eyes traced the bold seal of the Arizona Territorial Office, Governor Ambrose Kincaid's mark. He read the words aloud, his voice low but sharp. Transfer of lands, grants to mining syndicates, dispossession orders against Navajo and settlers both. His hands shook as he lowered the page. This is a map for stealing the territory piece by piece. Yarezi leaned forward, her voice quieter than her sister's, but steady. Our father trusted men like Kincaid. He believed their treaties. But behind his back they signed away water rights, grazing land, even sacred canyons. And Chief Red Hawk, he knew. He took silver to stay quiet. Marisol's gaze hardened, flames dancing in her eyes. When we refused to marry his warlord, we became dangerous. Not because of family ties, because we carried proof. Outside, the warriors of Chief Red Hawk lingered, their silhouettes cut against the morning light, unmoving, waiting. The silence was a rope drawn taut. Elias swallowed hard. You mean to tell me the governor himself is in on this? Marisol rose to her full height, nearly touching the rafters. The governor sits in Tucson and pretends to keep peace. But the ink of his pen burns hotter than any rifle. And men like Red Hawk are his tools. Elias turned away, staring at the cracked beams of the barn. His chest ached, as though the truth itself had weight. Because he knew something the sisters did not. Governor Ambrose Kincaid was no stranger to him. Not merely a name stamped on paper, not just the most powerful man in the territory. No, Kincaid was blood. Elias's mother had whispered it once, long ago, when he was just a boy. Your uncle's shadow reaches farther than you know. Never speak it, never claim it, but never forget it. And now, here it was, truth colliding with blood. A sharp knock shattered his thoughts. The barn door swung open, and Chief Coanna Red Hawk stepped inside. His painted face was fierce, but his eyes betrayed a storm of conflict. You hold papers that should burn, Red Hawk said. Give them to me. End this. Elias steadied himself. These papers prove you've been selling your people for coin. The chief's nostrils flared. Lies whispered by frightened girls. But Yareza's voice rang out, stronger than Elias expected. No, Coanna. You know these words are true. You took gifts from Kincaid. You let him pit Navajo against Navajo. You turned our people into pawns. The chief's jaw clenched, and for a moment Elias thought he would strike her down. But Red Hawk only growled, his voice raw. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted my braves to starve while Kincaid's wagons rolled fat with supplies? Better silver than hunger. The barn fell silent. The great warrior, the scourge of settlers, the painted giant who commanded 70 braves, suddenly looked small. Elias stepped closer. If this is the truth, Chief, then you're not our enemy. The man in Tucson is, and he'll hang us all on the same noose if we don't fight smart. Red Hawk's eyes darted to the sisters, then to the papers. His hand trembled on the shaft of his spear. What do you propose, rancher? Elias drew a slow breath. The choice was tearing him apart, but it had to be said. We take this straight to Tucson, straight to Kincaid. Force him to answer in the open. Marisol shook her head sharply. He will bury us before we reach the city. These papers are death warrants if he knows we carry them. Maybe so, Elias said, but hidden truths rot. Dragged into the sun, they burn the liars who wrote them. For a moment all was still. Only the rustle of papers and the distant call of a hawk. Then hoofbeats. Elias's head snapped toward the sound. From the north trail came a column of riders, dust rising in their wake. Blue coats glinted in the light U.S. cavalry. At their head flew the banner of the Arizona governor's office. Marisol stiffened. "He comes." Elias's throat tightened. Ambrose Kincaid, the governor himself, was riding straight into his yard. Red Hawk's warriors shifted uneasily outside, bows lowering. This was no war party, it was something colder, more dangerous. Elias gripped the edge of the barn door, the weight of blood and loyalty pressing down on him. His secret kinship to Kincaid throbbed in his veins like poison. Would he betray the sisters to his own blood? Or betray his blood for the sake of truth? The hoofbeats grew louder, echoing like war drums against the desert floor. Whatever choice Elias made, the Rio Sonora would never be the same again. The conspiracy deepens. Governor Kincaid arrives in person. Family ties, betrayal, and blood collide in the desert. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't lose the trail. The riders swept into Elias Monroe's yard in a storm of dust and hooves. Sunlight flashed off polished sabers and brass buttons. At their head sat Governor Ambrose Kincaid himself, broad-shouldered, gray at the temples, eyes sharp as a hawk's. Elias felt his throat close. It was one thing to whisper the truth of his bloodline. It was another to face the man in the flesh. Kincaid swung down from his horse with the ease of a man used to command. His gaze swept across the barn, the braves lingering at the tree-lean, and the towering sisters standing defiant inside. His lip curled into something between a smile and a sneer. "Well, Elias," he said, his voice smooth but cutting, "I'd heard whispers you were still scratching out a living on this dust heap. I never expected you'd host such colorful company." Marisol stepped forward, the satchel clutched in her hand. "Governor Kincaid, you wrote these orders. You signed away our homes, our rivers. You fed men like Red Hawk Silver to keep silent. How long did you think you could hide it?" The governor's eyes narrowed. "Child, you speak of things far above your station. Treaties, trade, these are matters of survival. The territory cannot grow while savages squat on gold and grazing land." Red Hawk growled low in his chest, his warriors bristling at the insult. But Elias raised a hand, his own heart pounding like a drum. "Kincaid," Elias said, voice shaking with both fear and anger, "you've been selling this land out from under us all. Navajo, settlers, ranchers, it makes no difference to you. We're just pawns on your board." The governor's eyes locked on him, a flicker of recognition passing between them. "Careful, boy. Blood ties only go so far. Do not mistake kinship for immunity." Elias's stomach twisted. The truth was now hanging in the open. Governor Kincaid was not just a political tyrant, but his own uncle by blood. Marisol thrust the papers toward the governor, her voice like thunder. "Then let the world see your shame." But Kincaid only laughed. He raised a gloved hand, and the cavalry behind him snapped rifles to their shoulders. The sisters tensed, Red Hawk's warriors shifted, and in that instant Elias knew. One spark, and the yard would drown in blood. "Hand them over," Kincaid said softly, "or I'll hang you all from that cottonwood and call it justice." The silence cracked like a whip. Yarezi stepped forward, her voice trembling yet fierce. "Then the territory will see its governor's true face, branded not by treaties, but by murder." She tore one page from the satchel, held it high, then thrust it into the flames of Elias's lantern. The parchment curled black, words turning to ash. "No!" Kincaid barked, lunging forward. But it was too late. The message was clear. If he killed them now, the rest of the papers would scatter. Wind-carried truth no cavalry could chase. Elias seized the moment. His voice rang out across the yard, stronger than he had ever known it. "This ends here. Not with blood, not with fire. You want peace, Kincaid? You sign it with all of us watching. You want war? Then you'll have to kill me first, and every witness here will know what you are." The governor's jaw worked, fury twisting his features. For a long, terrible moment, it seemed he would give the order. Rifles creaked, braves readied arrows. The sisters stood like pillars carved from stone. Then, slowly, Kincaid lowered his hand. His eyes blazed, but calculation won over rage. He forced a smile. "Very well," he said. "If it's peace you want, then peace you shall have." The next hours blurred into tense negotiation. Under the scorching noon sun, a new treaty was scratched into parchment. Land returned to the Navajo, grazing rights recognized, settlers guaranteed safety, and Red Hawk named chief over his people with dignity restored. Elias watched as Kincaid signed, his hand trembling only slightly. Whether the governor meant the words or not, it was binding now, witnessed by braves, sisters, settlers, and soldiers alike. When it was done, Red Hawk laid a hand on Elias's shoulder. "You stood where others would fall. You speak like one who carries two worlds on his back. From this day, you are no longer just a rancher. You are a bridge." Marisol and Yarezi pressed the satchel into Elias's hands. "Guard it," Marisol said. "Its ashes and ink are your shield. Do not let men like him bury the truth again." As the sun dipped west, the warriors melted back into the trees, the cavalry mounted up, and the governor rode away with venom in his eyes. The yard grew quiet again. Elias stood on the porch of his ranch, staring at the river that cut through the land like a vein of silver. For the first time in years, he felt the weight of destiny settle on his shoulders. Blood ties had nearly destroyed him, but chosen ties, those forged in truth and courage, might yet save the territory. And in the stillness of evening, Elias whispered to himself, "The desert remembers, and so will I." Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that story. Please share it with your friends and subscribe so that you do not miss out on the next one. In the meantime, I have handpicked more stories for you that I think you will enjoy. Have a great day.